Hello everyone, it's me. So I decided to get back to making some YouTube vids. Mostly because in last semester is because I was more focusing on another side project of mine that I'm trying to get going. I was trying to figure out how to write it. And I think I finally have something down. And now that I do, I can now kind of get back towards this. Before I start, I need to get a glass of water. So I get that. Something you start to realize when making these videos is that they are going to leave you parched when you talk a lot, so. Alright. So anyhow, I figured to make a list video. I'm going to be talking about my top 10 best films of 2018 and top 6 worst films of 2018. There were some films on that could be put on the worst list, but I just didn't think they're bad enough. Like, in order to be put on the worst list, I would think you have to at least be below an average movie, you know? But anyhow, we'll just get into it. So let's start with the best list. So let's start. These are my top 10 favorite films of 2018. Number 10 is Searching. Searching was a pretty well done movie. It takes the gimmick that Unfriended did, where it all takes place on a computer screen, except unlike Unfriended, it does it actually well. Everything felt very nicely placed. Everything felt very well thought out. It does everything that it needs to. It's a very successful crime thriller. So basically, if you don't know, Searching is just about John Cho from Star Trek, whose daughter goes missing. He tries to find her, and of course, it takes place, and everything you see takes place on a computer screen. So you see him trying to create, either documents. You see him like searching online, and basically, you're kind of there along for the ride, and you're trying to figure it out along with him. And it's intricate enough to where it's not too easy to figure out, but it also is not too hard to figure out. If you are paying attention, you can figure out what happened before the end of the movie. It does the gimmick well. It feels so genuine. And it shows passage of time based on like OSs, like in the beginning of the film, in the earlier years of like the family, it's like Windows XP or Vista, and then as it progresses, it upgrades the Windows software to more of what's modern day. So it's really quite something. There was like maybe one or two parts where the writing was a little off, but pretty much the writing is solid for the most part. What I would consider wrong with it is more than likely there were a lot of parts of the movie that acted like if we were dumb. Like, to make sure it knew what you were looking at, it would highlight like the text, like the character would highlight the text a lot of the times, and like, yeah, we know that that's what we're supposed to be looking at. It's not really a major complaint, but it's just something there. And sometimes the cursor moved in a way that just didn't seem natural and stuff, but overall, everything that this film needed to do, it does, and it's a film that tries something new, presenting a movie in a new way and does it better, and is a better movie, probably than Unfriended. I haven't seen Unfriended, so I can't say personally, but most people would agree that Searching is a much better film than Unfriended. So I would say check it out. Next, number 9 is Ralph Breaks the Internet, or WreckIt Ralph 2. This was just a very fun movie to watch in the theater. I had my family with me. We sat in the theater. We watched it in the XD theater at Cinemark, and it was just very fun. It was everything I was expecting. When you go, you gotta know what to expect when you go to see a Disney animated film, and pretty much it gave me what I wanted. What I did like the kind of humor it had. It had a fair understanding of the internet. People behind it kind of knew how it would work. The story is pretty straightforward. It's not really anything too insane or unpredictable. There are some parts where it can get a little stupid and stuff, but it also had a nice message / theme, moral that I can personally relate to, and that's why I kind of fancy the movie a bit, because it's stuff that I've had to deal with too. But overall was just a very fun experience in the theater. And also, you need to stay for the after credits. Just stay for the after credits, because Disney animated films, excluding Pixar, I think, always for the most part have after credit scenes. So just so you know. Next is The Hate U Give. The Hate U Give was a pretty dang good movie. I was worried that this film was going to be more of the liberal propaganda, but actually it just tackles and gives both sides. So basically, this film is about a girl who kind of lives in two different worlds. Her home is, very, her culture. I guess that's the way to put it. And then she goes to this very pressed up, fancy school, so she kind of lives in two different worlds. And then one day when she's with a friend of hers, the police pull her over and her friend accidentally gets shot because of a big misunderstanding. Now, it's not a big misunderstanding in the sense of like something stupid. It's just basically you see in the trailer he like grabs a hair comb out of the car and then the police shoot him because he thought it was a gun. And basically this film is just about dealing with that situation and hearing both sides of the story. It doesn't do one side, you hear both. And even people from her community or her family give their view on it and saying like, the policeman, he's not evil. And you hear these people give their side, and it's like, well, it's like he was unarmed. Why did he shoot him? That should not have happened. And other people on the other side going, if I saw someone I pulled over reaching for something in the car, I'm going to assume it's a gun. I might have shot him too. You hear both sides of the story, not just one. It tackles it from both, and it helps with the movie. And everyone in this movie is very likable. Amanda Stralber, the main actress, she does a good job, and her family is a very likable family. You care for the family, and you hope that they get that the best comes out of the situation. They're just very likable, and it's just a very well told, well done movie overall. I would recommend it. Number 7, we have Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2 was just a blast to watch. I like Deadpool 2 more than Deadpool 1. Deadpool 1 I thought was fine. It did everything it needed to. It felt more genuine, but I didn't find it as funny as most people said it was, and I also didn't find the film to be as intriguing or as good as people said it was. Deadpool 2 I enjoyed more. First off, Deadpool 2 I had a lot more jokes related that I thought was more funny, and it had a lot of things that I really liked, like the fact that it pretty much crapped on the DC universe a lot in here. Like in the first Deadpool, like half of the jokes kind of just got a little out of me, and then the other ones actually made me laugh. This one, the majority of the jokes made me laugh. There was almost no joke that it almost didn't hit. Also, there's more characters for Deadpool to play off of, a lot more. There's Domino, there's Cable, there's that kid, and there's the other past characters from the first movie as well. He can work off a lot more characters, and there can be more humor and more entertaining moments as well. The action is pretty solid too. It's an action-packed movie, very much so. So yeah, if you've seen the trailer for Deadpool and you've seen the first Deadpool, that's basically what you're going to get. I think you'll enjoy it more. Personally, I enjoyed it more. It was more funny. It was more entertaining. It had great action. The CGI at times looked a little fake, but that's because this film had a lower budget. So I've kind of let that pass. And it also has a great after credits scene. So make sure to stay for those because it's very much great. Next we have 1985. This is an independent movie. It was directed by Yen Tan. It was about a younger man, basically college, maybe a little after college, who comes home to spend time with his family. The reason it's called 1985 is because this is a film set in the times of the AIDS epidemic, and when it got discovered and spreaded really contagiously outward kind of deal. And this film is about someone who has said AIDS and goes home to go to his conservative family and just spend time with them. And it just feels very genuine. The performances feel genuine. The family chemistry feels very genuine and feels very believable. The entire film is shot in black and white, and I think that helps with the stylization of it. The cinematography is pretty good, and it was just really just a well-done film. And it's just about him trying to come to terms with his reality of his situation, and also trying to come to terms with how his family is going to react to his situation, more or less. I saw this at a film festival up here, and I just found, and they were supposed to be showing this film and then have a discussion afterwards, except I didn't like the discussion because the discussion afterwards was actually about AIDS and, you know, the actual subject rather than the actual film. We didn't talk about the quality of the film or, you know, what we liked about the film. We talked about what the film was about, AIDS, you know, and like the programs at Texas Tech and things. I'm just like, really? Is this what we're doing? This film is not perfect, but it's definitely one that I would recommend checking out. Next, we have Spider-Man Into the SpiderVerse. Okay, so I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, okay? I have been a fan of Spider-Man since I was 5 years old. I've always loved Spider-Man. Spider-Man was basically one of the biggest factors of my childhood and like one of the biggest influences on my childhood, okay? I still have toys from my childhood. Toys like this 5-in-1 web blaster. And to see the trailer for this looked like the film that was really going to put some new turn, some new twist, some new originality to a Spider-Man story, and it did. Most consider this to be their favorite Spider-Man film now, and after watching it, I don't blame them. I don't know if I would call it my favorite, but I would definitely say it's up there, probably in the top 3 of all the Spider-Man films we have. The performances were great by all the actors. The animation was fantastic. People were warning me that the animation was a little distracting. I wasn't distracted at all, because it's very comic book style, of course, and it's useful, and it just adds something new, a new style, and a new film for the animation lovers to enjoy. And it was a great Spider-Man story too, with all these different Spider-Men that are in the film, each performed by, you know, there's one performed by Nicolas Cage. Spider-Man Noir is Nicolas Cage. That was a nice surprise. And it was focusing on Miles, and Miles was a great character as well. We really like Miles. And it's not the same Spider-Man story over and over again. It was great to see something refreshing to Spider-Man. It's not the same Spider-Man story we've had before. Peter gets bitten by the spider. They make fun of that in this film. That, like, yeah, we know you know the origins, you know. So they go through it, like, super quick in regards to that. And it focuses, you know, on a new Spider-Man, Miles, and it's very interesting. Miles is a very likable guy and just a very good character in this movie. And so are the other Spider-Men. When the Spider-Men interact with each other, it's pretty entertaining. And I kind of wish there was more of that in this film. But for what we got, it was still pretty good. And like I said, there's nothing really I can say that hasn't already been said about this movie. The animation is great. The performances are great. I like the new style. I like the new twist on the Spider-Man story. I love the animation. The soundtrack is pretty good, too. I would say minor complaints would be the story is kind of... it's not, I would say not cliches, but it has a couple cliches in it. And things that you've seen in a kind of story similar to this. Also, our villain is very weak. There's not much motivation in him. He's not really there. But that's not the strong point for any of these superhero films. So it's not too big an issue, but he's just a very weak villain. But other than that, it's a great film. It's funny, it's creative, it has a new twist, and any fan of Spider-Man will love it, and I think any person would love it. It's a great movie, even if you not a big comic book guy. It's just a great film. And I hope this helps other studios and people know that you can put a new twist on things. You can actually put effort. Number 4 is Avengers Infinity War. Avengers Infinity War is the biggest movie of this year. Everyone was pumped. It made so much money, broke so many box office records. Marvel films, there's a lot of great films that Marvel has that are just very great. They have great action. They've got, good special effects. They got everything, good characters, just this thing. And Avengers Infinity War is just the culmination of that. Built up for many years to this villain and to this event. And I believed it paid off. See, when I knew about Avengers Infinity War long ago, like, we knew about Avengers Infinity War, like, what, 4 or 5 years ago? We knew this was going to happen pretty much. No, we knew about this since 2012, since the first Avengers, when they made that tease. And, and I was trying to keep myself a little content because I didn't want to overhype myself. It was probably the most excited film of that year for me, because here's what I wanted out of Infinity War. I wanted a good villain, because you built him up for so long. You better give us a good villain. Don't brush him off to the side like the other movies. I wanted the movie to feel like a big epic event, because if you're gonna have a movie with this many characters, these many heroes, and these many plot lines together, then it has to be more of an event movie, not an actual storyline movie. I wanted good action, and also I was wanting like some major consequences in this film. Because the thing about the past Marvel film is that there's not really any major consequences slash big, huge bad things that happen in the other Marvel films, really. You know, the consequences are not that minor. Or the consequences in the other films are minor. And this film delivered all of that. It gave us probably one of the most interesting villains of the MCU, Thanos. This is basically a movie about Thanos almost. There's more focus on Thanos than almost any of the other Avengers. Thanos is not really, he doesn't see himself, you know, as some big, huge tyrant. He's not the big, huge tyrant like in the comics, people told me. Because people tell me in the comics he's like this big, huge tyrant overlord, you know, godlike character who's like, you will bow before me, I will rule everything. And here he's not the same motivation. And his motivation is you don't agree with mostly, but you understand. And you are intrigued and interested in Thanos as a character. So they gave us a good villain. They gave us a big, huge event. This felt like a big, huge, epic movie with epic battle scenes, lots of great effects. The CGI on Thanos, that holds up. Looking at it in 4K again on my brother's screen, it holds up. It's some of the best CGI I've seen for, like, you know, the motion capture I've ever seen. It really holds up well. The effects department did a good job on that. And I love the fact that this film had major consequences. Okay, so I'm going to go into spoilers a bit, but I'm assuming every single person on Earth has seen this already. But if you haven't, here's a timestamp you can go to. So here we go. There's your warning, 3, 2, 1. I love the fact that they don't have our heroes win. Thanos wins. And that was such a surprise, and a much welcome surprise, because none of the villains ever win in the other Marvel films. So to have Thanos win in this, and have half of the heroes and half of the universe wiped out, was such a thing. And to leave it there, that is something that I commend them for. So Avengers Infinity War gave me everything I wanted. I had very high expectations for this film because they built it up for so long. They built it up since the first Avengers. They've been building so many movies to lead to this point. So the hype was up there and my expectations were high, and they were pretty much met. Number 3 is First Man. This is Damien Chazelle's third movie. Damien Chazelle directed Whiplash, another fantastic film, and La La Land. So First Man is about the story of Neil Armstrong. Basically his training and his journey to becoming the first man to walk on the moon. This was a very well-made movie. The camera shots were excellent. The effects looked really, really good, especially considering this fit. I don't know what the budget was, but I'm assuming it wasn't, you know, as big of a budget as... But the effects looked pretty dang good. The cinematography works in the sense of making it immersive, to make it feel like you're there in the space pod with the other astronauts. It's very immersive. The sound was great. The acting from Ryan Gosling was very well. It's very well made. It's a film that you just need to check out. Next is A Star is Born. A Star is Born made me realize the fact that I will never criticize Lady Gaga's acting ability again. I knew from the trailer that this was probably going to be, you know, an Oscar-worthy related film. But I was still worried about Lady Gaga. I didn't know if I don't think she's been in any other film before this, as far as I'm aware. But I was still a little concerned. I was like, I don't know. Most singers who are in movies that I've known of this point have not been good. You know, like Rihanna. Masterpiece, of course. But boy, her acting is incredible. I will never doubt Lady Gaga's ability to act again. This is Bradley Cooper's directorial debut. And boy, is it really something. This is a film that will solidify Bradley Cooper as being someone who can make a movie. Because to have this be his directorial debut is pretty impressive. The camera work is great. The acting is incredible, both from Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. The chemistry and romance is genuine. The story feels very cemented and very inspired. You know, it's basically just about Bradley Cooper, a star, making Lady Gaga in the story, bringing her up to stardom. And basically their journey through that, their troubles, their hardships, their good times, their bad times, and it all just is so pretty much great. And it's got great music too. The song Shallow won Golden Globes for, I think, Best Original Song, if that's the right category. And I was not disappointed with that. If you haven't seen A Star is Born, you need to check it out. It's definitely a worthy film. Alright, this is it. Number 1. My number 1 favorite film of 2018, ironically, is called The Favorite. The Favorite is a film set in like 1800s. You know, it's in the time of Queen Anne, so it's like, you know, I think 1800s is when it's set. Yeah, 1700s. This is a film by Yorgos Lanthimos, who directed other films such as The Lobster and Killing of a Sacred Deer, which I have not seen actually. So this is technically my first film of his. And boy, is it fantastic. It's set in 18th century England, and it feels just like it. All the settings, aesthetics, the props, the settings, the costumes, the design of it, it solidifies the century that it's set in, the time period. And you never felt like anything was out of place. It felt like you were in that time period at that moment. It never felt like you were out anywhere else. It just felt like you were in 18th century England. It was so well, production design, all the sets, everything. It was fantastic. Also, the acting was fantastic as well, from Olivia Colman, Emma Stone, Rachel Weisz, and everyone else in this film. Basically, this film is about two cousins who compete to be the queen's favorite, basically, and to be like the favorite servant and that kind of stuff. But the film also is just a general theme about a lust for power and doing whatever you can to get that said power. This film's got great settings, great costumes, anything. I hope this thing gets at least nominated an Oscar for production design, costumes, you know, anything having to do with that kind of stuff. Emma Stone's acting was just, it was just solid. I totally bought her accent, her character that she plays, everything. And everyone else is acting. Olivia Colman put on pounds so she could play this role. That's quite dedication. The cinematography was great. The directing was great. The soundtrack was great. This is a film that I made my number 1 purely because I can't think of anything wrong with it at all. The more I think about it, the more I realize that just there's nothing. I can't think of anything wrong with this movie, really, at all. I was always invested. It was a great ride. It was such great to see all this rivalry and this constant theme about the corruption of power and how everyone longs for that power and how people are affected by their lust for power. And just that thing. I was totally invested all the way. There's nothing more I can really say about it, honestly. It's just fantastic. Everything's fantastic about it. Just, there's nothing wrong with it. I can't think of anything wrong with it. This is a film you guys need to check out. It's my favorite film of the year. I purely can't think of anything wrong with this movie at all. That's my top 10 best films of 2018. I hope you all enjoyed. I will be making a top worst films soon, but hope you all enjoyed knowing what my top 10 films of the year were. Thank you for watching. If you would like to see more in the future, subscribe, leave a like, comment, you know, everything that they say. And I'll see you in the next video when it's made.